keep me wrong. Come and love you, daddy, all night long.
And you? What do you do?
It's a bit complicated to explain.
Hey, hey.
You know, I still didn't get exactly what your job is.
That is what I do.
New Renault Arcana E-Tech Hybrid from €299 per month on the road. Winner, Irish Medium Crossover SUV in the 2022 Car of the Year Awards.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Hello folks, and welcome along to the Irish Examiner's Hurling podcast, with thanks to our sponsor, the Renault Capture, ready for new memories. Morning lads. TJ, what's the story with that, TJ?
Morning,
What's
guys.
this like? Did you win something? Oh, you won the FA Cup.
No, another cup landed for the season, Dalo, yeah?
Jeez,
It's incredible,
I don't watch
Dalo.
the FA Cup anymore. When I was growing up, there was a great day on BBC One, grandstand all day.
Correct.
Does anyone watch it even now? Lads, massive weekend of hurling, massive weekend in Leinster. Huge shock, I suppose, really, with Westmeath's result. Very disappointing for the Dubs, Johnny. We had several bad days, the two of us together, but I thought Saturday evening was very, very disappointing. Massive game in Ennis yesterday. Jesus, you could eat atmosphere in Ennis yesterday. It was palpable. And then Cork and Waterford were in a playoff game, and Cork won that, I think, down there in Waterford. So, okay, we'll start with Cork, Mark. Go on, you have a big grin in your face.
No, Graham, no, listen to me. We could have tossed the coin. We could have tossed the coin to see who'd go through, like, you know. So, I suppose, do you want to start the way with Cork, yeah? Jesus, we could be here for a while now, like, if we start the Cork, like.
No, we go with Cork. 222, 119, Marco. You answered all the critics. Like, look, if I was a critic, you were certainly a critic anyway. I think we just could go on what we saw, and it wasn't good enough, and there was a huge improvement yesterday. There was a huge application. Yeah. You tackled. You made good changes on the line. Your buddy, Shamey, lit it up, in fairness to him. You've a call for a long time down the middle. He had a great game, Hannity. Waterford lads just didn't handle the pressure. We were down there Thursday night. I could smell pressure, I thought.
Absolutely.
They didn't handle it. You
No,
could sense
you're
they knew it was a big one.
Yeah, that show, I never saw Dan as nervous in all my life. And anytime we brought it up with him about the match on Sunday, just he was a bit speechless. Now, I thought he was being a bit coy and he was holding the cards close to his chest. But I think there was a nervousness there. I think, once the game came around, everybody started to realise Waterford, after a massive year, they've been billed as the second best team in the country. I think Derek McGrath has been quoted as saying whoever beats Waterford will win the All-Ireland. So I tell you now, I think that all that kind of fed into the narrative that, Jesus, lads, if we get beaten at home in our own patch, it's out of our control. And that was the point that Kieran made a couple of weeks ago when Cork were beaten by Clare, is that they'd lost control of their own right to be in the championship. Now they've won it back on merit, going down into Welsh Park to get a great victory against the league champions Waterford, and a team that had beaten Cork comprehensively. But you'll remember from Thursday night, Dalo, I did say, and TJ and me sat at the league final, I said on 3 or 4 different occasions, Cork looked like they were coming to take on Waterford, and each time they got a goal to repel Cork's challenge. And on Sunday, thankfully, I'd say the goal we conceded was a little bit sloppy, and Patrick Collins' save before half-time was huge as well. But other than that, I don't think we really looked like conceding a goal. So I think, look, a couple of the fundamental changes, Hannity, the centre forward, was a huge one. Restored to his proper position. Luke Meade, I think, coming in the middle of the field. I said to you earlier on this season that Luke Meade, hail, rain or snow, good, bad or indifferent, he'll always give you a 7 or an 8 out of 10. He's not a flashy player. He's just consistent. And again, the 3 young lads, thankfully they all produced it on the day. Mark Coleman, Darragh Fitzgibbon and Shane Kingston when he came in. But you can be adding now the likes of Sean O'Donoghue, Niall O'Leary, and I suppose the real joker in the pack now is Alan Conley. 2 goals yesterday, possibly could have got another, but like, hasn't he been really, really good? And you must give credit to the Cork Examiner and the live streaming, because we've been watching him with Blackrock now for 2 or 3 years in the live stream. And remember I said to you, he's the smartest kid I've seen in terms of being in the right place at the right time. He's very cool on the ball. And you know what? The way he stepped back to take the pass from Kingston, right? Now I see Rafa Nadal doing one of those left-handed flicks, but I tell you, the flick from Kingston over to Conley, I thought his feet were brilliant to set himself up to get the goal. Conley's a good lad, good player, and a great one for the future. The same as Kieran Joyce.
Yeah, I really like Joyce, especially in the second half. He really settled into it, and I suppose it has to be marked by we have to mark it. I know he'd be disappointed to be taken off of Patrick Horgan, the all-time leading scorer in the Hurling Championship. What a Cork man, what a servant to Hurling. Incredible.
It's phenomenal, to be fair. Like, you know, I think, Johnny, I was involved. I don't know, Johnny, whether you were playing the day we played G below in Nolan Park in 2015, the league semi-final. Yeah. Hoggy got 22 points that day. He had a rake. I must have been gone, was I? You are, yeah. You might have been gone from the sideline, but you certainly weren't gone in spirit, Dalo, because like, you're still connected to the Dubs. Because, Johnny, I don't know whether you listen to the show, but I tell you, I talk about Cork, Dalo talks about Clare and Dublin as if they're nearly the same, to be honest with it, you know. And he's really still pining. And if the position became available, Johnny, again, I wouldn't rule him out now.
Certainly not. No, certainly I wouldn't either.
Johnny's a top-class coach as well, like.
But there you go now. The two of you join back at the helm. But Patrick Horgan, magnificent performance from Horgan in terms of getting the all-time leading scorer. And his time isn't done again. I suppose that'll lead on to the next question, Dalo, as to whether he'll be getting starting time, or I know you remarked earlier on in the year that maybe his position is coming off the bench. Look, I don't know. It's a catch-22 with Hoggy, to be honest with it. He was dropped a couple of years ago, actually, with Kieran, and said his first stint, and he bounced back brilliantly. So there'll be a bit of soul searching, I think, in Cork this week as to whether Patrick will start or not. Next Sunday.
Manny made a marked difference in it, Mark. Like Tim O'Mahony was fulcrum, out to the ball, laying off the ball. It was different, wasn't it? Yeah, sure. Look, listen, you know, as a defender, what do you want from your forwards? When the ball goes down there, you don't want the ball coming out easy. Fellas, if they get the ball in their hand, take the score and stuff like that. But if it doesn't go to hand, you just want your forwards fighting for the ball and keeping it in there. You know, putting pressure on defenders that they can't clear the ball easy. And Tim O'Mahony gave that. And as well as this now, if Tim happens to start, he now is an out ball for a long clearance, because Cork played well at stages yesterday, but there was still a bit of tipping around in the backs. When I saw Mark Coleman on umpteen occasions looking up, didn't seem to have anybody to hit it to. Maybe the likes of the Tim Manny. I mentioned earlier on about the Harnedy being an out ball, like if he wasn't going to be played centre forward, he might be an out ball at full forward. Now Tim O'Mahony looks like he could be that option going forward.
Marco, question for you.
Just let him off, TJ. We'll come back in after about 45 minutes. We'll just let him off.
Rob Downey in the full back line, Kieran Joyce at 6, Luke Mead in the middle of the field, Seamus Harnedy at centre forward, and Tim O'Mahony coming on in the forwards. How much credit are you taking for all of them?
I'm taking all of the credit, every one of them. And
in fairness, it's obviously, you were on about all of them.
Every one of them. And I'm delighted for Patrick Collins as well in goals, because there would have been a few people who shift a bit of criticism, but his save before half-time was outstanding. So, you know, goals is a lonely place for anybody, but we just need to find a full-back and a centre-back and just flip-flopping between players and stuff like that. Just put him in there and leave him in there. And like you see Conor Cleary from Clare now, Dalo, you know, you went with him a couple of years ago, and now he's become a real warrior at full-back. The same as Prunty as well, to be fair, like, you know. So it's a difficult place to play. Paul Murphy was one of the most outstanding cornerbacks. Kilkenny put him in full-back. He couldn't solve the problem. So Like JJ Delaney came from wing back into full back, and he made the position his own, and he was a brilliant halfback. So I think, you know, the Downey has all the skills, and I've always made this point. People say he's slow. He's not slow. He's a huge man. He's just covering a lot of ground because he's got a huge stride. But I suppose...
Marco, I was going to say the other thing is, I only saw the second half of the game on the phone. I was in the stand in Cusack Park, and I see Raf was crediting the Wi-Fi in Ennis. Dalo said
I saw you going in, TJ. You were going to the posh seats again, I'd say.
I was. The 4G was working fine. Is there a shift, I said last week, in Tipperary going towards a more straightforward, simplistic game plan? And is something similar in play here for Cork, in the sense that it was like, mark your man, win your own ball? Like, obviously there was their own little intricacies in the game plan, but it's definitely shifting towards more simplistic. And in fairness to Clare yesterday as well in Limerick, like, the puck-outs were going long as much as possible. It was up to lads to win their own ball, and then you had the movement. But it felt that way on the phone, Marco.
Yeah. Look, I would feel that there was a huge amount of analysis being done in Cork. The defenders coming over the ball, looking up, and if they didn't have a 100% shot on to the forward, they didn't. They went backwards, they went sideways. Now it was a case of let the ball into the forwards. We have men that wanted, like, I mean, Connolly's tackle count, lads, must be very, very high. His physicality, and Dalo, you picked up on it, that he has put on a lot of muscle since the club season and stuff like that. So I think, TJ, you're right. Don't confuse them. They're all good hurlers. Every one of those lads are committed. They're dedicated. They're good hurlers. They're good stickmen. It just needs to come together for 70 minutes, everybody playing for the jersey and playing for the cause. And I think whatever has happened there obviously some shift between the Clare game and yesterday, because the attitude that the lads brought was fantastic. Now, they stuttered early on, I would say, and Connolly's goal was huge in terms of settling the nerves. But from then on, it was tit for tat. The fact that I think we went in a point up at half-time when we were 6 points to 2 down early on, I think was great. Also, the fact that Cork decided to play with the breeze meant that their backs were to the wall. They needed to stay in the game for as long as they did. And TJ, what happened coming down the stretch is that Waterford got fierce nervous. I mean, Stephen Bennett missed frees. Ozzy missed frees. Fellas that, you know, heretofore have been excellent with their frees. So that just shows you the pressure that's on amateur players at home. Always made that point that they still have a job to go to today. You know, they're good guys, every one of them. But there's a lot of pressure on fellas. And I just look from a Cork point of view, to be still in the championship is the big thing, because, like, if Cork were beaten yesterday, they would be skin and hair flying, I would suspect. Like, so let's hope that they can put a performance back to back now. That's the thing. And like, Tip hadn't gone out of this championship, lads. That's the funny thing. And everybody was saying, if Cork get through, it could be a dead rubber. It's not a dead rubber game. So you have to be on red alert now for the rest of the week to come with the same attitude again next Sunday.
And Johnny, I presume you saw it, like, in Liam Cahill, you know, I quotes this morning that they were like a car on dirty petrol. I know Austin got 3 points from play. I think Patrick Curran got 2 from play. They just didn't function. I mean, like, the narrative, let's say 6 weeks ago, was there's going to be a Limerick-Waterford final no matter what happened, and probably meet 3 times. And it's just gone off. It's very hard to know from the day of the league final to now what has gone wrong for them. Did they put too much store in the league? And it was an unusual league, as normally you win the league, you have 5 weeks, 6 weeks. They stuttered past Tipperary in the first rounds. I mean, Clare blitzed Tipperary. It's just, it has come off the rails for them. It's hard to put your finger on it, Johnny.
It is, and I was only thinking about it last night myself. If you look at the teams that went well in the league, Waterford, Cork, Dublin at the start, Wexford, and look at them now. You know, they're looking like they're stuttering along. They're burnt out. Like the teams that are going well now, Limerick, Clare, you know, Galway are thereabouts. Kilkenny, obviously, we're always going to be thereabouts anyway. But you know, everyone during the league was saying, "Are Limerick finished? Is this them gone?" And look what they've done in the championship so far. Their performances have been back to where they should be and what we expected. So I don't know that Waterford and maybe Dublin to a lesser extent put too much emphasis on the league. Winning the league was fantastic for Waterford, but I don't know has it helped them with the way the championship is so close to the league now, in that there's not as if there was a 6 or 8 week gap where you could come down off the high, go through a bit of a lull and then get yourself built back up to ready to go again for championship. There was no time for that. It was on a high. You were straight back into championship training the next week because you were playing in 2 weeks' time. And I think that has affected them, because I certainly during the league and even when they played Limerick a couple of weeks ago, you'd say Waterford are the second best team and they're the team that's going to beat Limerick or are going to challenge Limerick. And now you're saying they're a good bit off it again. So I am questioning, has the league form or league success starting to affect them in a way, and can they recover now? I'm not so sure.
And TJ, can you put your finger Austin was the best of them, and then he still gets 2 yellows, and we can talk about the 2 yellows in both matches in a while, because there's a feeling out there's a lot of players antagonising players as well off the ball and trying to get them to react. And obviously Austin track record for reacting, but he was hurling well. But outside of that, even defensively, they weren't, they didn't look solid. Tyg de Burke has not been featuring like we thought he was back to his very best. Was he quite back to his very best? I think on championship form, you wouldn't say that. Prunty playing kind of from behind has not shown the confidence last year at all. Just central things. Jamie Barron, was he back right? He didn't look like it yesterday. He didn't get on the play. And then again up front, Stephen Bennett not functioning as a scoring from play forward in the championship. So a lot of the stuff, Desi held scoreless by my Cork player of the year, Sean. I don't know what a defender this guy is, lads. He didn't get half enough credit. Held Desi scoreless again yesterday. Desi had a hand in the goal, to be fair to him. But just so much of what we thought was kind of nailed on, like it was money in the wallet, TJ, has come out of the wallet.
Yeah, and hands up, Dalo. I was one of the ones who thought that Waterford were best positioned. I thought Waterford were impressive against Limerick for long stages. I thought they had missed a couple of scores, and I was the one who said that, that they would beat Cork at home. I just didn't see the result coming. So kudos to Cork. And I don't know the answer. Like the first half, they conceded a goal, and then they had kind of worked themselves back into a nice position again, 110 to 1-6. And then for whatever reason, whether it was a Cork kind of drive before half-time, and then like literally after half-time, they just couldn't seem to get to grips with it at all. It was like as if they were waiting for this wave or this intensity from Waterford, and it didn't happen. I don't know, maybe, as I said, even Carl's call during the week trying to get people out there, maybe there's some narrative that you had mentioned before. Do Waterford play as well in Walsh Park as they might do in Thurles or maybe somewhere else, right? But for whatever reason, they couldn't get going. And then they were forcing it, and some of the stuff that they had been doing very well and their passing and stuff didn't work as well, and coming out of defence. And look, Cork winning 50-50 balls and stuff. It was like as if it was a surprise to them. Some of the scores Cork got before half-time, we saw them last night on TV, like Darragh Fitzgibbon winning the puck out.
Was that the turning point up, TJ? Can I just cut you? Like Darragh Fitzgibbon up for that ball, he hasn't been doing that this year. No. The hand was to be taken off. It was taken off, but he came down with it, drove forward, did the Tony Kelly tap off the ground, and over. That was an inspirational score, followed quickly by a Harnedy similar one. And I thought that was the crucial few minutes.
I tell you could be right there. Like they definitely sowed the seeds in that period of the game. And like going into halftime, I'm sure the Cork dressing room at halftime would have been buoyed up to say, you know what, lads, we have these boys on the rack. Their game plan is struggling. Their puck outs aren't working, short or long. Like to kill the two of them, for Lehane to kill the one short, and then for Fitzgibbon to win the one long. It was huge confidence in their own game plan, and they were tight all over the field, and their game plan was working. So that gave them the belief, and they just built on that and kept chipping away at the scoreboard. And I just felt Waterford were forcing it there in the second half. And yeah, I think the sending off was maybe unfortunate. Like from Austin's point of view, I think we all know, well, I certainly know that when you're on a yellow, you have to be careful, right? I think a lot of the days I played, certainly in the Baxdale, I was unfortunate enough to get a yellow. And then once you get the yellow, you now have to know that you cannot step out of line, Marco, at all, right? And you could say today that it might be harsh, that Downey might have started or whatever. But he's got, like, in that case, when you're on yellow, you got to do nothing and just let him there. And just take it on the chin. So it's unfortunate. What we saw on TV last night, he didn't do a whole lot wrong, Ozzy. Like, they kind of just grappled. Maybe Downey started it, two yellows, and I said unfortunate. But I think the way they were playing at the time, Dalo, I'm not sure they would have dug it out. Like, Cork looked like they were just in the zone. They just seemed to have more to play. And I suppose the key thing was their big players were playing well around the field, and none better than Shamie Harnedy. And I know we have listened to the Shamie Harnedy fan club from Marco for a long time now. And you know what? Even I was at the league final, and myself and Marco were saying, like, Cork were struggling on the puck outs, and even we were in the stand kind of saying, well, would you not just put Shamie Harnedy into 14 or 11 for a little while and chance him with a few balls? And they didn't do it at that time. So eventually Marcus got through to somebody there. They are listening, and it definitely worked yesterday.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of managers listening to the podcast at the moment, with some of the comments there yesterday even. But Johnny,
yeah.
we've been calling there for maybe Cork to go back to more direct. Look, at hurling has been consumed with game plans, and the genius that is Paul Kinnerk, I suppose, and people have been fascinated, and still an awful lot of basics in hurling, though, isn't there? Like, defend well, challenge for everything. You know, like, that's what we were just asking. Like, I showed a couple of clips of Cork before the match yesterday, and I mean, like, tag rugby was more physical than what they were at against Clare, like, being honest. And that just turned around yesterday. They tackled, they hunted. You saw Lehan getting in a hook, followed by a block by Robbie O'Flynn. Stuff that wasn't going on all year. Luke Meade, as Mark says, we all know what Luke Meade brings, and he brings that. But Johnny, there's a marriage somewhere in between, isn't there? But
there is,
and
like, in fairness to Harnedy, like, Harnedy was angry. Like, he something was up with him that obviously he was listening to people outside giving out that Cork weren't going well and that, but there was a bull between the horns. He was just going, I'm going to do whatever I have to do today to win. And that aggression, everyone fed off that, and the rest of the team seen that. And then Waterford on the other side stood off. It was as if they were waiting for something to happen, as if they were like half cooked coming into the game. That, not that they think they were going to win the game easily, but it was there was definitely they were 95, 90%, whereas Cork were 100 to 110%, and the difference was massive. And Cork at the end of the day I think are a fantastic hurling team and are well able to hurl. And if they showed yesterday that they have the intensity levels and the aggression levels to match, well, then they're going to be very hard to beat. At the end of the day, they were in an All-Ireland final last year. They beat Kenny in the All-Ireland semi-final. They're not a million miles away. You know, they've shown, obviously, the first two games how bad they can be, but then they showed yesterday and bits in league how good they can be. They'll be looking at yesterday going, right, that's the template. Obviously, they need a bit of luck from next Sunday onwards. But if they get through, not many teams will want to play them if they show the aggression they had yesterday, because we all know they have the hurling, they have the stickmen, they have the pace to run at teams, to play the running game, and obviously they have the outball in a Harnedy if they need to go long at times, and he can well able to mix it up with anybody. So they're starting to get that balance, and I'd say from a Cork point of view, they're hoping that it's not too late now, that they haven't found it when the season's nearly over.
Yeah, well, the situation. I
suppose you'd have to, in fairness now, wasn't it a massive call to take Hoggy off 5 minutes into the second half? Like, in fairness, you have to give credit now to the selectors for that decision, because he has been a fantastic talisman for Cork. And the other thing I want to say is that from what I can gather, the fourth official on the sideline yesterday for both sets of management antagonised both managements yesterday and led to Kieran Kingston being yellow carded. Now, I think, TJ, in your day, if you went into the referee's notebook and you were on the sideline, you would be spending some time you would be spending the rest of the game. But the rule has changed. I got that checked out, right? So if you get a yellow as a part of the management, you're only booked. You actually don't have to go off the field. It is if you get a red that you have to go off the field. So that was something new that we discovered yesterday. But I want to make the point on behalf of both managements that both managements had their year on the line yesterday, even though nothing will be decided till next Sunday. But for Cahill and Bevins, and we said Kieran and Pat Mullen, his selectors, everything was on the line. So there's going to be excitement on the line. But I think, from what I can gather, the fourth official antagonised both sets of managements yesterday, and which led to Kieran being brandished a yellow, which, you know, I'd love to see the fourth official doing the Dickie Murphy on it. Come over, listen, Liam, would you calm down a small bit there now? Look, let your boys go way down there to your section and Kean the same with you. But from what I can gather, there was a lot of shenanigans on the sideline yesterday, and there's plenty belting on the field.
Don't they know where they're supposed to sit or stand?
They do, but from what I can gather, the management's Bivens wanted to come out to Cahill to talk to him to discuss something. Pat Mulcahy wanted to come out to Kieran Kingston, and they were being told to go back. You can't go there. And that was starting to antagonise the coaches and the management. And to be fair, Dalo, you've been on the sideline, and you know when you're watching that game, and the lads want to feed you some bit of information, you need to get that information, and they're being stopped. And that is
go back to them.
The GA's got to look at that.
You could go back to them. They call you and you go back to them. Talk to them. And it was different. I had a Mayor Forna with me. I'd hedge up. That was it. I don't know, was that a help or a hindrance, but I'd hedge up. It was good fun anyway. For sure. But no, but I think we need the Mayor Forna back. I think that's very clear. I mean, unfortunately, the Limerick management no longer now have the medics mic'd up on the field as well. So that's going to be a bit of a fact going forward.
Who's getting credit for busting that? I was only thinking of it yesterday. I was laughing at John in his comments afterwards because Limerick produced the whiteboard last year in the COVID scenario when it was clearly stated from the GA it's a water break, it's not a coaching break. They totally flaunted with the rules, and now he's given out about that. So some pundits, I don't know who these pundits are. Dalo, is it you? Is it? I don't know. Who it is. Is it us? Is it us? TJ, have you any insight into that?
No, the only thing I'm going to look for today is maybe for the GA to consider going forward to avoid confusion is a bit like the American football, is that in the stadium that maybe the referee or the fourth official that are hooked up to the tannoy, and that we hear what the foul or the infringement is for, or what the card is for, or the red card is for. So in the case of, let's say, when Anthony Daly was playing with Clare, he would go, Clare, defense, number 7, late pull again, right? Yellow card. So at least
interference.
At least in
interference. Limerick number 10.
Yeah. So I just think that in the case of Kieran Kingston and in the case of what's going on around the pitch, I think you would actually get the referees, the linesmen, and the umpires to up their game. And we'll talk about Ennis in a while because there is some confusion that I actually still don't even know the answer to. But in relation to maybe you said there with the pressure on the line yesterday, certainly for Cal, I'd say as the game was going on and he probably felt it slipping, and then maybe
Absolutely.
when Kingston was the opposite and he felt that it was coming, so the emotion is going to be there, and you're looking to drive things on, and do you know what, it's a natural instinct on the line. Certainly I've been that soldier, and you're trying to drive it on, and when you feel it and you want that kind of momentum to keep going with you. And the opposite then for Liam Cahill is that when it's not there and you're trying to get something out of a fella, to get a tackle in, to get a turnover in, to get that turning point. So I've lived all those pieces on the sideline, and I understand what it's like. And I understand what it's like to have a fourth official on your ass.
Breathing down your neck, yeah. So TJ, can I ask you a question now? Is this your first admittance that you'd like to start using a bit of technology during the games?
Well, that wouldn't necessarily be technology, Marco. That's just basically communication.
It would be a step. It would be a step in the right direction if you're going to start using the facilities that are there. So again, I'm calling for the television monitor to be used. It on the 1 or 2 incidents during the course of the game that the referee gets a chance to take his 30 seconds, shoot it upstairs, and say, lads, would you take a look at that for me, please? Wouldn't it have saved an awful lot of time yesterday for Colm Lyons running into the umpires for a chat and then running back out?
Do you know what, Marco? I don't know. I think there's so many grey areas around the tackle. And actually, did Gerard Hegarty swing? Did he not swing? Was it a yellow? Was it not? You'll have different opinions. I'm not sure VAR would fix that. What I'm saying is all these referees and fourth official, they're all mic'd up already. If we could hear the conversation. What's wrong with hearing the conversation yesterday? Did the linesman see it? We don't know whether the linesman saw it or not. We don't know whether the umpire saw it or not. Colm went to his ear. Who was he talking to?
Yeah, he was definitely went to his ear, TJ, for what, 20 seconds?
20 seconds.
He was talking to somebody.
Was.
Yeah.
So if we know what the conversation is, it just takes the grey area out of it. And we'll come to an incident with Garrod Hegarty's first yellow in a while, which I will explain. But in relation to yesterday on the line, like I did see Kieran Kingston getting the yellow card, and that, you know what, that's actually new to me. I thought that, and he had to go to. Did he have to go to the stand for a period, or did he need to go to the stand at all?
No,
he didn't need to go.
He didn't need to go at all. But I'd say, as I said a while ago, I'd say he probably thought the minute he was booked by the referee, he probably had to go. But the new rule has come in. It's only a yellow card. That's a warning for you. It's if you get a red card, like Tommy Dunn got, where you have to go. We are removed from the pitch.
I'd say maybe Noel Furlong and Pat and The Rock and those said to him, come up and sit down for 5 minutes and relax yourself. Maybe, because he was getting, and you can lose your train of thought too if you get too involved, like.
Yeah,
definitely.
But it was great to see that passion coming out of Kieran yesterday on the sideline as well.
Yeah, I don't think he ever lacked that, though, to be fair to him. I think he was always, playing every ball. But look, I think the players responded. That's what was needed. Players have to do it as well. I think Liam Cahill was alluding to that with Dirty Petrol as well. Like, you go across that white line, the manager can do so much. I was lucky to have Gerlock Nan as a manager, Lingane or great men. You to cross the line down, bloody well do it. And I think the Cork players have finally. I don't think Brian Lohan has a magic wand in Clare either for the way we're going at the moment. The players are standing up and delivering for him.
Yeah. Dalo, what did you think of the one player through the National League who was brilliant for Waterford was Darragh Lyons in the middle of the field? I found it strange that he didn't start on Sunday for me.
I suppose
and Neil Montgomery.
I did too. Yeah. I did too, yeah.
So the two fellas, I thought two genuine players, and I've often made this point about, the psychology of the team that's picked and the players around you, and saying, Jesus, he should be playing. I thought both Montgomery and, in particular, Darragh Lyons should have started for Waterford. I thought they should have been facilitated maybe. I know Carrick Daly was very good in the league and stuff like that, but he was taken off in the last championship match. I just would have thought maybe Caleb Lyons going back, wing back, and Darragh Lyons in the middle of the field with Jamie Barron, to me, might have been a better fit. But I suppose I'm just saying, I thought Darragh Lyons was very harsh that he wasn't started, I thought, on yesterday,
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I thought he was one of the players of the league, to be honest. Yeah, I agree with you there. And I suppose that's Liam's job to decide on his formation. Callum Lyons, good player, no matter where you play him. And he would have played well wing back too, there's no doubt about that. The situation is, lads, I think we'll have a quick look at Leinster now, because the big one was obviously, I take it you were in Parnell, Johnny.
I didn't actually get to it now, but I did see it all right.
Okay, great stuff. It was seemed to be an unbelievable atmosphere, 9,000 there. The great rock up crowd and Donny Carney and Jesus, I was at the league game, Johnny, when it was probably turned around, Kilkenny's league, and turned it down for Dublin's, and it was so similar to the league game that I'd be so disappointed. Being a Dublin supporter, I know they don't have many great days, but you would have expected progress, but it is just hard to put your finger on where things are at. Probably will qualify, looking like it anyway, that you couldn't see Wexford and current form going in and beating Kilkenny, so probably will qualify, but it was double scores. It was a hard evening to take.
It was, yeah, and I suppose even last week, talking to a few fellas before the game, I had the opinion that I didn't think we were going to win. And us at home against anybody, we'd always fancy our chances in Parnell Park. But I just think this team, it doesn't suit this current Dublin team to actually play in the small, confined to Parnell Park. I think they actually revel in the open spaces of a Croke Park or Thurles. Like, they've bet tipped twice in Thurles in the last 2 years, which we always struggle to do down through the years. And they've won a couple of big games in Croke Park, but Galway last year in Croke Park, obviously in a big open pitch. Now, they drew at Waterford in the first league game this year. And Waterford obviously went on in the league, and Dublin were brilliant that day, and you'd say, right, that was in Parnell Park. But I think it didn't show yesterday again with Waterford playing in Walsh Park in a tight confined area. They're rather the open spaces of a big Thurles or a Croke Park as well, and I don't think it suits Dublin. Now, that's still no excuse for going out and losing by the score that we did lose to. On the other hand, Kilkenny love that tight environment. At the end of the day, they're going to work their socks off no matter who they play. They have to be the hardest working team in the country since Cody's ever taken over. They're never bet on work rate or intensity or wanting to win. Always there. And Dublin had to match that before they did anything else, before they started to hurl. and we didn't. You know, the first half was tit for tat in a way. It was okay. The second half then, and like Kilkenny didn't do anything which we knew. They're never going to do anything spectacular. They're never going to have sweepers or short play or different fellas doing this. They just went long with puckouts and one breaking ball, won the dirty ball, had more men tackling, had more intensity, and wanted it more. Like that's the hard thing to take from Dublin point of view, is that they wanted it more. Like then they say it was a full house in Parnell Park. We don't get a full house too often in Parnell Park. It's a fantastic atmosphere when it is like that. It's a great place to play. So it was very, very disappointing to lose in the manner that we did. As I said before the game, I wasn't expecting us to maybe probably win the game, but I definitely didn't think the margin would have been as big as it was. Like even as I said, with Murphy going along for most of the puckouts the second half, especially, like Chris Cummey was playing midfield, obviously a mate of mine, and he's a fantastic hurler. I would have had him in the half back line there. Like he's playing midfield at the moment, he's doing okay, he's doing well. But in the half back line there, if Murphy was looking up and he was seeing this big, tall, gangly fella anywhere in the half back line who can win his own puck out and brush aside anybody who's there, he would have think twice of where am I going to go with this puck out now, because he's winning 2 or 3 of that. We didn't have any of that. We won no ball in the air at all. And the half back line that's there at the moment are athletic, they're fast, and which is the type of team that Dublin are at the moment. But with the way the game was going and the way that Murphy was going with his puck outs, he would have said, plonk Chris back there, play him anywhere across half back line and make Murphy think twice of where he was going. But it was very, very disappointing.
And the thing, Johnny, for me, is, and this, I suppose, the stats will back it up. Like, is the depth in the panel is not there. Like, I mean, the same 15 or nearly day in, day out, and there doesn't seem to be 5 good subs, like, which can, none of them can seem to change the game. Charlie are obviously, probably nearing the end of his career, but like always could turn a game. You're still gambling with him. Mark Schutte probably was a sub 9 years ago, is featuring again Saturday night. Like, I'm not, they're great servants to Dublin hurling now. It's other guys. Like I'm gone out of the scene, obviously, good while. But what could you put your finger on why there's not more lads of that level appearing?
Yeah, I suppose we won the Leinster 20s, so was it 2 years ago maybe, or maybe we won it last year, but it was a 2020 championship. And I don't think any of them lads have really filtered through. The Bet Galway that night, I think, in the Leinster final. And there's none, like Lee Gannon was a fantastic hurler that day, and he's now playing senior football. And he was wing forward, he might have been man of the match in the final. So there's another one that you've lost, let's say, that's to football. That was a fantastic hurler. I know Endo O'Donnell, Owen's brother, was wing back that night, good hurler as well. He had done his hips, so he's gone. He's out for the next while, whatever. But there's been no one else that has broke through. And I suppose this is Matty's 4th year now, and you could see it from early on in the year that he was, during the Walsh Cup and during most of the league games, it was the same 15 or same 17 we're playing every night of the week. And he was sort of saying, no, this is my settled 15. This is who I know is my best 15. We're going with these. And it's sort of back and forth now, because if some of them lads are not playing well, as you say, the strength and depth in the panel is not there. And I think maybe he's seen that maybe since the start of the year and going, well, I'm sort of throwing all my eggs into the basket that my first 17 or 18 are going to get me over the line, which we know is never going to work in today's game with the amount of games that come thick and fast. So yeah, it's, I don't know, is the thing that it's Matty's last year. Well, we presume maybe it is, and that he's not looking to develop lads for 2 or 3 years down the line, looking for lads right here, right now. And yeah, we're sort of maybe paying the price for it now. Like,
yeah, it's disappointing. I suppose you'd only look, Mark, at the scores. Like Conor Burke and Donald Burke got 2 points each in play. Like, but here's Kilkenny, like Adrian Mullen 5, Mossy Keown 2-1, TJ 1-2, Cian Kenny 4 points, and he seemed to be out of favour after having a great league as well. Like, so they haven't gone away, have they?
Yeah, but like, even I would say today, like Cian Kenny is a midfielder. He ended up playing corner forward. Pádraig Welsh is a defender. He's centre forward. Paddy Deegan is the centre back. Richie Reid went in centre back on Saturday. Like whatever Cody does, like he's just a master of being able to pull fellas and get them to play for that jersey. It's incredible. I think Mullen played midfield 2 games ago, got 5 points. When in-wing forward was taken off the last. I think he went back out more in that position on Saturday night. And I think he likes a bit of space. My God, he is some striker off his left-hand side. He has the accuracy. Like Tony Kelly is brilliant off his left, Dalo. But this fella is a real good shooter as well off his left-hand side. But Kilkenny are going to be hard to beat, whatever way you look at it. The physicality that they bring to every challenge is ferocious. And in Massey Keown in the edge of the house, like a goal the last day, 2 on Saturday night again. Like some fellas just have a habit of being in the right place at the right time. And there's nothing flashy about them. There's just good, honest, hard play. And when the opportunity arises, they're able to take them. I was taken by Kenny early on, and he reminded a small bit of Joe when he was playing at his best. Flashed out to the ball. First touch, brilliant. Without even looking, knew where the pegs were over the bar. And the first one he scored was incredible. But the flash 4 of them over the course of the game. And he got 3 of them early in the game when the game was in the melting pot. That's obviously a great sign of a young player as well. So, you know, it's nice to see the Examiner have a nice picture of Cody today taking a selfie with a Kilkenny supporter. I must say, obviously, in the space of the week, he's obviously reflected on what happened in Galway last week and probably said to himself, look, it's only a game. Landers and the boys in the podcast are probably right. There's more to life. And he settled down after a victory and was standing in for photographs.
Maybe there's a couple of them listening to us. I don't know about Cody.
Oh, God, yeah.
You'd never know. You'd never know, Dale. From what I can gather, there's a few managers around the country. TJ certainly has the hotline to a few of them. They're listening all right, it's that.
Everyone listens to Marco at the moment. Johnny and Dalo, I was first of all, Kilkenny are nearly the opposite to Dublin, which said, you know, Dublin had a settled 15 nearly all the way through, right? What Cody's doing at the moment, like I had the challenge early on Saturday evening, Dalo, of trying to watch the extra time and the penalties to see Jurgen complete the set and lift the FA Cup. And the match had started at 7 o'clock. And then I was obviously the challenge of trying to make out the Kilkenny team and where everybody was playing, right? So it looked like that Richie Reid had gone into centre back, and that, let's say, Paddy Deegan had gone to 7, and then there's another midfield partnership in Adrian Mullen and Alan Murphy. It looked like TJ started as centre forward and Padraig started at 12, and then with Massey Keown, King Kenny, Owen Cody inside. That's the way we were kind of trying to make it out watching it. But Wally gone at half time. Billy Ryan didn't start after coming on and playing well the last day. You know, Conor Fogarty, David Blanchfield as well, having a good league and not playing well the last time when he came on, doesn't come on for 67 minutes. So it's just hard to make out that whole makeup of that Kilkenny team. But the key question I was going to ask you is, obviously, Dalo, you had taken the credit yourself and Johnny for kind of breaking that mindset around that, what Kilkenny brought for Dublin there for years, and just trying to get over that and kind of not have a mental block when it came to them. It looks like as if it's nearly back, as in that Kilkenny nearly have them in trouble before the game even starts. And that's really feeling from the outside now.
Myself and Johnny suffered a good bit to them as well, I tell you. It was nice to get one over, and well, we got a league final over as well, but it was nice to get that replay victory as well. I think it's probably Dublin's only victory in long time against them. But yeah, I don't know, TJ, like, they didn't win in Galway, I suppose. I'd say the mystique is not anything like what it used to be. But you're right, like, I mean, missing Hugh Lawler, Conor Delaney went in, good solid job on Ronan Hayes. Ronan Hayes lacks support, Johnny, fair to say. Like, he's up there. There's very little support. Like, he either has to win it and turn his man and win a free, or there's very little coming off him in terms of running at him and stuff like that.
Yeah, like he is, and I suppose Fergal Whiteley, who has been good enough all year for Dublin, has been sort of drifting out, and he is a forward, half forward, and Hayes has been in there with either Mellett or Trollier's played a bit in there, but yeah, it's generally only 2. He only plays the 2 in there, and most teams know now that's Dublin want to do. They want to get it to the half-back line and get a diagonal ball into Hayes, and if they stop that, Ronan's not going to win the ball unless it's put into an area for him, you know. And he is lacking support, and I suppose our half forward line play quite deep. Like Donald and Danny would like to play in around midfield area, you know, and get them support in is probably is not what they're doing enough. But going back to TJ's point about the mystique of Kilkenny, like, they definitely don't have the let's say the aura of what they had, let's say 10 years ago. But there's definitely I suppose that willingness, that aggression hasn't gone, and we're starting to see it even more and more now that they're coming under pressure in Kilkenny. Let's say that they're not as good as they were, and they're not, but they're making sure they're making up for it with their work rate, their lads that they have there that are coming in. Like I said, there was 3 or 4 changes that nobody's seen coming, because Cody never does, let's say, a dummy team. He always has his 1 to 15 always start, and they only always start in the same positions that they're named. But to have 3 or 4 changes like that, I don't know whether true Dublin probably did, because you would have said Friday night when you seen the team, the 6 forwards that Kilkenny had look very, very potent, and you'd say, wow, that's a fantastic forward line. And then they changed 2 of them, and the 2 of them that come in were nearly match winners, So it is. There's not many teams can do that. That can spring 2 not newish fellas Keown's around a while, but to come in and make that impact that they did was tough for Dublin to handle. I suppose they were too hot to handle, but it is just a disappointment from Dublin point of view, because you're looking at it now going, we've go down to Galway next week, and listen, at the end of the day, we can still go down to Galway and beat Galway, which is it's not unheard of, but it's a very, very uphill task. But even if they don't win and Kilkenny beat Wexford, Dublin will get through in 3rd place. But it's what happens after that now is what I'm sort of looking out for, and this team needs to, it's on the road a couple of years now, it needs to break through and get through a quarterfinal, get through into a semi-final. And to look at it now, you're going, that's going to be a tough task to do, and they have a bit of picking themselves up to do this week, to go down to Galway and put in performance, not saying to win, because it's going to be very, very tough to win, but they could do, and that could put them into an Leinster final, and things could open up after that. But they really have a bit of soul searching to do, and that bit of work rate, that intensity that we always would accustom ourselves to, because they do have a good bit of hurling in them, but they do need to start matching it now with a bit of aggression and physicality.
Yeah, and it'll be tough enough going to Salt Hill and on their current form. Did a huge win against Laois again, 237. A lot of fellas popping up. TJ, Colin Mannion 7 from play. Tom Monaghan. Jeez, Tom Monaghan is going to be a contender for a hurler here. Joseph Cooney as well. Why did I leave Joseph Cooney out of my fantasy hurling team after having him in for the whole league? God, Jesus. Conor Whelan won 2. So, they are going well. They'll be hard to beat. Just to roll it on, lads, because look, we expected that one. Huge result for Westmeath hurling. Joe Fortune, delighted for him. Good, very good coach. Dublin minor, Dublin 21, Ballyboden manager, beat me in a county final up there. Often wondered why he wasn't in the shake-up for the Dublin job or the Wexford job. He's a Wexford man. That's some result. Derek McNicholas, you probably hurled against Derek McNicholas, Johnny, did you? He's around so long. And he comes up with the level and goal.
Yeah, just on the Westmeath thing, I know a couple of the boys. Obviously, I know Joe from Dublin, but then also in the background, he's got PK, Peter Kelly, in with him, and he has Paul O'Donoghue, who's coach. PK,
the sprint coach.
He should be, yeah. He wouldn't be able to sprint like that anymore now. And Paul O'Donoghue who's the coach there, who's coached us and Luke in the last 3 years. He's actually from Cork, Marco. And he's a teacher up here, and he's gone in with this year. And I know the level of detail that Paul would have went into with the opposition and their homework would have done on Wexford, but they would have done obviously all year. And I wasn't surprised with the result, as in they know what they can get out of the Westmeath lads. They know what they have there, and their level of detail and their application would have been second to none. And it showed the weekend of the results. And I suppose for them going into it, they probably were looking at going, well, we'll get over today, but Laois next week is the biggest game. And it still is, because the draw at the weekend only gets them a point. If they lose next week, they're out, they're gone, relegated. All right, if they draw, that's enough for them. But they still have a massive task to go down to Laois and get a result on Moore Park. Laois haven't been going well, but at the end of the day, we all know one week can change it, and one big performance can get them a result against Westmeath. Everyone all week this week will be talking about Westmeath, how good they were, and can they back it up now with 2 weeks in a row, which is going to be the big ask. And I'd say Westmeath have never drawn with a big 8 team in the country. So to do that on the weekend was absolutely fantastic and massive for them.
And Johnny, the funny thing is, the one crowd that have always produced that one performance to knock you out is Laois, and they've done it consistently. They did it against Antrim this year, when Antrim were flying along, and they've done it in the past as well. So you're right. There'll be a lot of patting on the back for the Westmeath lads this week, but if they don't get a result next Sunday, and Laois should be waiting in the long grass for Monte Dalo.
And Cheddar even said it, they beaten 237 to 21 points. Cheddar said, he says, well, we've both eyes almost on next week, he said, and that was a good competitive edge of a game to get, he said. Jesus, 237 to 21, and it was just what we need for next week. So, you'd start to be hoping for a Westmeath win in terms of the way they've approached Leinster. But at the same time, if Cheddar can pull it off again, fair dues to him, he did it last year against Antrim, and Antrim had probably given more to the Leinster Championship.
To be fair to Darragh Egan as well, he'd be disappointed with they shot a lot of wides, I think 21 wides or something, and the goals they conceded, just looking at them on TV last night, to concede goals at senior level, very, very difficult to win games. So from that point of view, he'd be very disappointed.
Could they rise it up, TJ, to beat Kilkenny?
Could they rise it up? Big question now, yeah.
Davey was kind of talking him up last night.
Yeah. I look, you asked me this question about Cork last week, and I kind of said no, I didn't see it in them, and right now I don't see it in Wexford. I just think they're going to struggle against Kilkenny. I think Kilkenny again will just be able to grind them down. The game will suit them. They just seem to be in a better place right now. So the old mental kind of fatigue from maybe that draw as well for Wexford won't kind of do any favours from during the week. And before we move on from Leinster, I would say just one thing on Galway. The good news for their fans is the 5 subs they brought on. They looked to have a nice settled team, but Jason Flynn was back and he came on. Ronan Glennon was back and he came on. Nyland came on. Marco, you'll be glad to hear. Johnny Cohen and TJ Brennan. So they're building a nice squad. So as I said, they have a nice settled team. The 5 subs and the panel strengthening nicely as well for them. So they'll be happy with their progress.
Yeah, they sure will, and I think Henry will like him. It's looking very much like we're going to have a repeat of Salt Hill, TJ. I don't know if you have as good a seat for the Leinster final, but it's looking like the lads will be going toe-to-toe on the line again.
Well,
Johnny,
it looks like we have two lovely repeats coming, Dalo. We'll talk about the second one in a while, yeah. But Henry and Cody Part 2, definitely something to look forward to. But look, who knows? Anything can happen. We've 2 interesting rounds coming in the last weekend, both Leinster and Munster now.
Now, Johnny, first job, right, is we need a couple of soft seats for the Leinster final. And we want a couple of front row seats now. The soft front row seats in the art corner there, as TJ is very used to being in there.
We get well looked after, Johnny, everywhere we go. So we need a contact in Dublin, Johnny. So you might just be after answering the question for us.
Johnny, it's no coincidence you're on this week, Johnny. And get your own business in. They'll probably need a taxi from Leopardstown before the match as well. They go racing 6 days a week, the 2 of them, but not sure. Look, it's their great lives. Lads, look, that's Leinster. I suppose, look, huge, yeah. Dublin might have to get something. They might not. If Kilkenny probably take care of the business, and at the bottom of the table there, probably the biggest one of all is Westmeath going down to O'Moore Park. So huge weekend to look forward to. We can't wait. TJ, I saw you coming in with your shades there yesterday into the home of hurling. You have a big stadium behind you there now, but it was nice to see it packed. Not being able to see a bit of concrete or anything, wasn't it? It was a good, nice throwback to the old days of just thronged people on top of each other. A good-natured crowd, I would have thought. Now, from our vantage point, we were looking over the terrace away from the town.
And a great mix. Wasn't there a great mix of fans throughout the whole part of the stadium, and great atmosphere. Really enjoyed it. Beautiful occasion, lovely weather, and in fairness, even traffic after was no bother because I parked out a good bit there close to the motorway. 2 minutes or 2 kilometre walk into the car and away. So lots of positives yesterday. But I suppose first of all, just a word on the Limerick footballers before we talk about the hurlers. Billy Lee, what a job he's done, and a very quick question for all the Limerick fans listening there, right? I'll give you maybe 5 or 6 seconds to see if you know the answer. When was the last year the Limerick footballers and Limerick hurlers were in the Munster final in the same year? The answer?
1934.
Any guess, Marco? 1934, Dalo. Well done. 1934, Marco.
I read the papers in the morning.
You read the papers, yeah. So well done to the footballers. They're flying it. Dalo, really enjoyable game. both
Great
teams
game.
going at it. Like obviously before the game, I had got wind of, and I sent you a message. I had heard that Gillan and Darragh Donovan weren't starting. I'm not sure as to whether they were changes or not, because everything changed just before the game for Limerick because they were guaranteed Munster final. So I'm not sure it would have changed to thinking a whole lot, but I think Gillan had maybe some bit of an issue during the week where he didn't train and he was minded.
Gillan was drinking coffee, sure, before the match.
You flagged that. You flagged that a long way out. So the couple of changes that they made, and Limerick started with, people had said to me in the past, what would happen if Limerick started with a really big full forward line? So we had Conor Boylan, Kyle Hayes and Shamie Flanagan starting at 13, 14, 15. So that was kind of a newish full forward, and David Reedy started at centre forward with the two boys. So and Robbie Hanley started in the middle of the field. One change for Clare then as well to their side, where they had Jason McCarthy playing
for Jack Brown.
Yeah, instead of Jack Brown. But great game, great first half. I suppose the TK experience in Ennis is something that a lot of people have experienced at some stage. To hit 12 points in 35 minutes of hurling and just be buzzing and all over the place and just kind of in and out between positions and, like really kind of busy on the breaking ball, working off Peter Duggan inside and then showing for the ball. Just an incredible player. A couple of other things that stood out for me in the first half is maybe not so much in this game, but maybe all over the country at the moment, Dalo. Standard of cornerback play is through the roof. The two cornerbacks for Clare were excellent. The full back line again for Limerick, like Barry Nash is having an unbelievable season. Like really, really powerful. So the man marking, the physical battles, like Davy Mack and Gerard Hegarty was always interesting to watch. You kind of had one eye on it there for most of the game. John Conlon was strong, like David Fitzgerald in the middle of the field, Carl Malone in the middle of the field. And in fairness into Limerick, Will O'Donoghue was just, as I said, maybe he hadn't his best Munster Championship to know. I thought he was immense in the middle of the field. I thought the turnovers, the tackles, what he got in was incredible. We got the goal. Maybe a couple of fellas would probably, you'd say, we could do maybe a little bit more. Not sure about the Kyle in the forwards yet. Maybe we might see him a bit further up the field in time. Shamie Flanagan, you probably would have seen that he maybe lacked a little bit of maybe game age or maybe a little bit more game time. So plenty of positives there as well for Limerick. And the guys who came on, like Oisin Riley came on and got his scored. David Reedy got on plenty ball. And I suppose the other massive positive for Limerick at the moment is the accuracy and sharp shooting of the one Dermot Burns. He's currently averaging 6 points a game from number 5. I think he's got 2 6s, a 3 and a 9 in 4 games played so far. So phenomenal and just nailing everything. I think very, very close to 100%. Got a great score from play as well. And it's some fill up for a team. Even into the breeze there in the first half, Dale, in front of you. Like, I think maybe on our own, maybe just outside the 45-yard line and nailing it into the breeze. Like, it's some striking and some performance. So plenty positives from that point of view. Leaving the game, I didn't think that Cullen Lyons had a poor game. And, I actually got a chance to watch the game last night after going home. I thought in the main, I thought he got most of the decisions right. It's a very, very difficult game to referee. I'm sure, Dalo, you could have picked maybe 1 or 2 incidents where you thought that maybe Clare could have had a free, and I could pick 1 or 2 incidents where I thought maybe Limerick could have had a free. So it was that type of a game. What I started earlier on about the incident with the linesmen and the referee as to what the card was for and maybe making the crowd knowledgeable. I think everyone's focused on Gerard Hegarty's first yellow card, that he got a yellow card for taking the line ball quick. That's not a yellow card. And if he got a yellow card for that, it's a completely wrong decision. But I thought at the time that the ball was fed into Gerard Hegarty. David McInerney was out in front of him, and McInerney knocked the ball out. And as he knocked the ball out, it was a little flick from Gerard just on the back of him. And Gerard and David Mack, just a little flick, and Davy Mack made a case to the linesman. And when the linesman called the referee, I think that Gerard Hegarty might have got the yellow card. I don't know. Maybe at some point somebody could clarify that, but it looked like as if that was a potential that he got a yellow card for that, because he couldn't have got a yellow card for taking the line ball quick and hitting Davy Mack's hurley. If he got a yellow card for that, we're in bother, because the linesman was 2 foot away. So I just don't think that was possible. He got a yellow card for that. The second yellow card, like, it's very, very harsh. There's no doubt about that. And I don't normally agree with Donald Oak there on television, but I think he was nearly on point. Like, there's no need for Gerard to do it. He's maybe asking the referee to make a call. Like, if the whistle is blown, he leaves the hurley in there. The cornerback didn't do himself any favours. He won't be overly proud of that today. And it was a very physical game. But like overall, as I said, Joe, a good game, a good contest. Thought the second half was maybe a little bit stop-starty, but the first half was incredible stuff. And as I said, 4 teams in the Munster final. The only other point I'm going to make about the game, really, from Clare point of view, is I suppose it's very hard to underestimate from listening to you, Dalo, and listening to the whole public thing about Clare recently about what the job Lohan has done. He has galvanised the group. Like you go back to maybe 12 months ago and you talk about, let's say, underage results or maybe different stuff on and off the field. Like, he's got everybody back. He has the crowd back. Everybody's playing for him in a massive way. He's got the team playing in a way that suits them. Like Peter Duggan at full forward now is a massive help because he's a great out ball and he's a handful. And obviously any team that has Tony Kelly playing, and to the people out there who don't have Tony Kelly as captain on your fantasy, you'd have to ask questions. Why would you not have TK, who scores regularly from play and from frees every single day? But
so you'll be rested next week, TJ.
That's what I was just going to say. Like I had Gillan on my team as well, and he was rested. So
have you TK as captain?
I have TK as captain, yeah.
Oh, I hope he leaves him off.
Yeah, I would admit, like, that's the beauty for Lohan. The same as such from Limerick's point of view yesterday before the game, there was a little bit of freedom in that it wasn't a must-win game. You're already in the Munster final. Now Brian can sit back, and in a strange kind of a way, not for me, but I don't think that Lohan is going to ease up here. Like, I think that he's a great momentum going. I think he'd like to keep that winning streak going. And there's something about Clare and Innes. Definitely a couple of points a better team in Innisdale, and in that atmosphere and the way the crowd get involved in the game and the singing and stuff. So, yeah, overall, as I said, a positive experience. The good news for Limerick is on 62 minutes after Guru got sent off, the game was in the melting pot. We didn't lose the game, which was great. Kept the unbeaten run going. And I suppose, look, on 60 minutes there, it was 21 points to 119. And I said they just found a way home. I suppose from Clare, that period, Dalo, between 50 minutes and 60 minutes was probably a piece where you kind of maybe struggle to get a score or two. And in a strange kind of a way, when TK looks back in the game, I think he missed that one on the right hand, the easiest one of the day, right? And he was just even by his standards, a fraction off with 2 passes, which might have led to maybe something more. Like Ryan Taylor, in fairness, recovered one really, really well and put it over the bar.
He
one
was
square to Davy Fitz.
But TJ, I'd have to say as well, Kelly seemed to think that he was shooting the lights out, obviously, and it was just a joy to watch him. Jeez, incredible what he can do with the ball. It's just a pity. Well, we'll see it, I suppose, in a few weeks with Keane and himself on the same field. Keane Lynch should be something else. They're just unbelievable to watch. But I think Kelly thought halfway through the second half, Clare would probably need a goal to get over the line or to get something out of the game. We'd gladly have taken a draw beforehand, I can tell you. But he seemed to be looking and probing for that opening, and that was a tap over point, probably the one that he gave into Ryan Taylor. But he wanted to. He saw, he was getting the head up, and he saw Taylor on the run. And as you said, the pass slightly overcooked. Taylor did brilliantly. Taylor was out of the game for a long time, but finished very well. He's some athlete. He finished the game. He was the one Clareman that was looked to be fresh. He was like a fella after coming off the bench, And from a Clare point of view, I just think getting time into Shane Meehan, a new experience for him. A young lad got a point, but he learned a lot about, maybe he took it into the tackle. You can't do that against Limerick. David Reedy looked rusty, but there's nothing you can do, lads, only play those type of games to get back into the level.
True.
The news on Mark Rogers is good. I think he'll feature next weekend, which I think he might possibly be ahead of Robin Mounsey and Shane Meehan. Rogers is an accomplished player, Fitzgibbon Cup winner. Ian Galvin will obviously back. How he can get the bloody card rescinded, Bates Banner, I don't know what we're on about cards. And Aidan McCarthy, I think, has 6-7 training sessions done now. So from a Clare point of view, I know Limerick had the luxury of leaving off top men. Keane he's injured, but leaving off Gillan, I think, was a no-brainer. Going to Ennis, the tension, the heat, the boiler. I think anything could have happened. I think John did the right thing there. And obviously, at midfield, and Dara as well, he's having probably outshining William O'Donoghue this year. So to be able to leave him off. And Donald Logue actually had a piece of analysis done on how important Graham Mulcahy is to the whole workings of the forward line. I think we had to put it in the bin because we got the news that he wasn't starting. So that'll tell you what Limerick, in terms of strength and depth and options with Kyle Hayes as well going forward. So
But
I thought Dan Morrissey had his best game, TJ, as well. Could I say that?
Yeah,
I thought Dan Morrissey really stepped up.
Yeah, it did definitely, and you do need those. And in fairness, both defenses were very, very strong. Like I said, the Clare defense really stood solid there at times, and
Rory Hayes,
the back at the time, outstanding. You see the step there at one stage in the first half, and actually it ended up a score for David Fitzgerald, I think. But the battle between Conor Cleary and Kyle Hayes at times was very physical. The battle between Mike Casey and Peter Duggan at times was very physical, and you could say there was a bit of manhandling, and maybe there could have been a free given here or there, but really tough stuff now. Yeah, so yeah, no, plenty for both sides to be positive about. John will definitely be happy in the sense that he's got the team to Munster final. That's all you can do at this stage of the championship. You know, he's got players coming back all the time now over the coming weeks. He's got a 3-week break to the Munster final. Great opportunity to get them all right. He also had the opportunity of leaving the guys off completely for the under-20s, like Colin Coughlin, Adam English, and those guys didn't have to feature and weren't in the matchday squad because they've an Ireland final to look forward to. So from a Limerick point of view, I would say plenty positives. There is a bit of focus and a bit of noise with the Gearóid Hegarty situation. And, you know, in a strange kind of way, maybe the sending off might be a blessing in disguise for down the road. He's out of the way now. The general feeling is that he was hard done by. I didn't think he deserved to be sent off in the bigger picture. I'd love to know what the first yellow was for. If the linesman gave him a yellow card for trying to take a quick line ball, would seriously want to have a chat with himself.
He would. Marco, you were tuned in, obviously.
I was.
You nearly sleep on the couch at this stage. You had a long day on the couch yesterday, kid.
I had a long day on the couch, and I had 2 mails to cover as well. So we got them all done, Dalo. I can tell you in one day, like, you know. So,
it's not easy to do all that in one day, boy. I tell you.
No. So when I hear you saying to me that you did a 13-hour shift on Saturday, I said I do that about every 4 days. But anyway,
fellas roaring at you. I thought wrong and that's wrong.
Yeah. Tony Kelly, anyway, is without question the number 1 hurler in the country at this moment in time. Cian Lynch is a close second, to be fair, like, but I don't think Cian will be striking frees from 100 yards and putting them over the bar. TK was just unbelievable yesterday. And then I thought you have 4 fantastic. We said I won't say lesser known fellas, but hurlers in Ronan Hayes, Paul Flanagan, Ryan Taylor, and Shane Meehan. Really classy players now. But like to have 2 cornerbacks like Ronan Hayes and Paul Flanagan, Jesus, they're dingers, like they're quality hurlers playing cornerback, and they're teak tough as well. They're attacking the ball as if they're going to win it, which is I think is brilliant for a cornerback. But they're striking and they're hurling. And then, Dalo, you have 5 what I would say is real men, right? You meant Dermot Ryan, Conlon, David Fitzgerald, Duggan, and Conor Cleary. They're real men now that you can build around, physical, aggressive, honest, fair hurlers that you can put in anywhere and fellas can play beside them. They complement all your team, I think. And, you know, it was a full 70 minutes is what I took from the game yesterday. There was no team that really sprang away and looked like they were going to win. You know, it was in the melting pot for the whole game. And the question is, can Clare stay in it? Can they keep it up? Can they, you know, this is the All-Ireland champions. And even with the couple of lads that are missing and stuff like that, Clare have a good few lads missing as well. So I thought both teams will take a lot from the game. I think Clare will take a little bit more, I would suspect, because when you're the coming team, you're seeing, can you get up to that standard? Can you match the All-Ireland champions? And they proved yesterday that they could match it. In terms of the Kelly miss, I think you're right. He was going for the goal, and probably the one that he missed, the easy tap over point, I'd say he probably had it in his mind, will I keep going? I don't know, I'll just tap it over at the last second. You know, you just get a little bit complacent and you hit it wide. But the fact that he went for the other ball into Ryan Taylor did show that intent to let's push on. And that shows a smart, intelligent player who knows exactly what's going on at the right time, pull the trigger at the right time. I think I'm fascinated to listen to Lohan in the interviews afterwards, and that's why I love watching the television. To, you know, Jesus, he's just like, as a player, and you commented it as well, and rightly so, and the credit you gave Brian is the best player that you ever played with, and probably best of his generation at the time. And he's just he's just so it's so simple, I suppose. He doesn't confuse it. He just, he's a bit like Cody, I suppose, in some respects. There's no palaver with him, and it's just about get on with the game and play it away. And I think that he's getting the max out of your players, Dalo, to be fair. And I think great credit to him as well,
And Dalo, that was a tackle there from Ryan Taylor and Diarmaid Byrne's early doors, kind of maybe sowed the seeds for that intent, even though he's a good bit smaller than him. Like, he just tore into him full on frontal, like, didn't he? I know it was a free out to Limerick, like, but it just showed that Lohan, like, nearly Brian and Frank Lohan just rip you apart aggression.
Yeah. Like, and look, there's total buy-in. Like, I met a few of them coming out, just quick pat in the back, like John Conlon and a couple of them, Peter Duggan, and just is that unity of, it's a lovely place to be if you can get on that role in a given year. Johnny, we probably experienced it in 13, where everyone is in sync kind of thing, and there seems to be that there at the moment. And I'm not going to comment. I didn't think Hago deserved to be sent off the field. I do agree with Don Lugs, but there's no need to be leaving in the hurley. Like, and maybe, TJ, you've touched on something there for the first yellow. So I thought it was for hitting the line ball quickly. I thought that was ridiculous if that was a yellow card, because Davy Mack wouldn't let him take it quickly. Was there a flick on Davy? I just don't see the benefit of that. But it's in his play, sort of. He's a tremendous player, like 4 tremendous points from play. And I would say David McInerney was having a great game. Really rolling back the clock. Davy Mack is one of our main men now. And yeah, I still think Hago didn't deserve to go off the field. I didn't think anyone deserved to go off the field. I thought while it was ferociously tough, and I said it just as no point in, I wouldn't like to be out. I could bring myself back to 27 or 8 years of age. I would not have liked to have been out there yesterday. Jesus Christ, some of the hitting, good hitting, like honesty and dog. Like, I mean, just down in front of where we had the podium at one stage, Ryan Taylor was trying to get on the ball, Shane Meehan. Jesus, the belting. Dan Morrissey came up with it for a finish, but it was a schmozzle, like one of these scrums or whatever you like. But Jesus, fellas were going in. They weren't just going in and trying to roll the ball back out. They were going in and belting first with their asses, like, and shifting lads.
Yeah. There was a cruncher between Peter Duggan and Mike Casey as well in that corner as well, wasn't it? Peter Duggan, the one he flicked over, he got caught out of it.
Oh, yeah, that was the one. That was the one, like, yeah. Oh, jeez, like, you'd just be saying, oh, God, like, what state will they be in the morning? But just tell you, into the credit to the athletes we have now, lads, at this level, that they up and go to work today and belting, and I suppose that has been there for a good while. Johnny, I'm just going to throw a curveball at you there now, because we all saying all that. We know who number one in the country is, right? In terms of power rankings, right? We know who number one is. That's unquestionable. Who would you have 2, 3, 4, let's say 5? I won't go further than 5.
Yeah. Limerick obviously won, yeah. Like, you would have obviously said Waterford coming in the championship. And even just going back to your point about Lohan, before the championship, it was Limerick, Waterford, Cork were the top 3 in Munster, was what was going to go in Munster. Clare
not on this show, Johnny.
Okay, right. and like Clare were, they were going on nicely, but like the job he's done with them and the performance that they're getting every week, like Tip, Cork, Limerick, 3 games they've played have been fantastic. Not just 1 good game and 2 mediocre games. They've been brilliant in all 3 games. And like at the weekend, you have to put them number 2 now. Like, at the end of the day, like, they're Limerick are the benchmarker, and if you're drawn with Limerick, you're the second best team in the country. Third, you have to say Kilkenny, because I've said all along, if Kilkenny play Limerick in an All-Ireland semi-final, I would not write Kilkenny off beating Limerick. I think they're the one team that could match them in Everton, even though Kilkenny Limerick are a better team than Kilkenny. I just think that Kilkenny can get under the skin of Limerick. They can do enough on them to rattle them, to get scores, to get goals, and to stop them at the other end. But yes, if Kilkenny went to play Clare, you probably fancy Clare to be Kilkenny. It's a strange one in my own head on that, but I just think if Kilkenny got out Leinster and met Limerick in the semi-final, in the final, I think Limerick would be the final, but I think in the semi-final, I think Kilkenny could catch them. So I'd have to put them third. And fourth, then, like, you're looking between obviously Galway and probably Waterford. Probably I would say Waterford. I think there's probably still enough in them to hopefully recover, because I like the Waterford team. I like the way they play. I think they have a great mix of athleticism, of strength, but also of hurling and directness. the lads running from half back line midfield are just direct. They're running straight at you, and they're well able to take scores from all over the pitch. And obviously, when you have Gleeson and Bennett, them boys can make the ball talk. So you would probably say Waterford 4, and then probably Galway in at 5. I still think there's answers to be on Galway. Like, they went down to Wexford and drew them the first day when they probably should have. They were 5 or 6 points up. They should have finished them off. Right, Becca Kelly in Pearse Park, in Pearse Stadium, which is a great win. But I still think there's a few answers to be got yet from Galway. So we don't really know where they're at yet, I think. So just to breathe a little bit around them, but probably they'd be in 5th and behind Waterford.
I presume Cork could be 6th then, Johnny.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say that. Yeah.
Marco, he's got silent, lads.
Dalo presses the mute button every now and again.
Yeah.
There. I suppose, Dalo, in fairness to Clare, I suppose one of the pieces of form looking back now is, like, if you go back to last year when Cork reached the All-Ireland final, Tony Kelly had a shot which could have beaten Cork in the Gaelic grounds that particular day. And since then, if you were given Lohan kind of on the upward trajectory with Peter Duggan back, with Shane O'Donnell back, and maybe one or two of the young fellas, as you said, there coming into the frame, it's probably not, you'd say, the most surprising thing. Now that we look back with a bit of hindsight, yeah?
It's a fairly settled team as well, Teach. Marco, you're back with us?
I don't know, can you hear me?
We can now, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Marco, Dalo got a mute button fitted there for you every now and again. He was just trialing it today. Now that you're back, so he's just able to press it every now and again.
There was a poll on Twitter, Marco, you see, that would Dalo get a mute button for Landers?
Yeah.
96% said yes.
Was that on Twitter, was it? Because my scouts didn't spot that now last night. I'm a bit surprised with them.
But you're a bit miffed with Cork not being that top 5 there, I'd say, yeah?
No, I'm not, to be honest about it. What I would say,
old soldier now, of course. Hold on.
No, I wish you were trying to play it all year, trying to tell us that you were talking down Clare all year, but you knew privately behind the scenes that they were flying. So for me, Dalo, timing is everything. And the one dark horse in the championship now that I'm looking at the timings as being Waterford were hurling out of their skins a month ago. Have they gone back because they were too fresh early, that they were too far forward? One of the teams that we say wouldn't have had a brilliant league, had one or two really, really good performances, is Galway. And for a team that I would have said a month or 6 weeks ago that I thought they looked a bit sluggish, that maybe they're starting to time their run properly. And going back to the experience of Cody and Shefflin as player and manager, Cody in his palm timed his run to perfection, because while we were flaking the land off each other in Munster, the boys were slipping into the Leinster final and getting into the All-Ireland semi-final without a whole pile of pressure. I think that Galway could be the dark horses of the championship. I'm going to slip them in there now in 2nd. I'm going to put Kilkenny into 3rd. I'm going to put Clare in 4th. And then we might slip into 5th place there, maybe. Maybe if we can get over Tip next Sunday.
Yeah, fair.
So I'm saying watch this space for Galway.
Yeah. No, look, I think the two teams in Leinster, no disrespect to the Dubs and Wexford at the moment, they are strong, and they showed in Salt Hill the match could have gone either way. So, I think a Leinster final will tell us an awful lot, though. Crow Park, it looks like if the two of them win at the weekend, that'll be the Leinster final. I think really no more than after, provincial final, Croker, nowhere to hide. Galway maybe, for me, might have the more even spread in the panel with Jason Flynn and a couple of more coming back.
Yeah.
They just might, I think you're, I'd have Clare out 4th or 5th as well, Mark. I think, Limerick have won every game the last 12. It was nice to halt that some small bit, but we're delighted. We're delighted. We're in the 3. That was the key to the Munster final.
That's the first thing achieved, Anthony, is being in the 3. A bonus possibly being in the Munster final. Everybody was talking about the trilogy between Waterford and Limerick. That looks like now it won't materialise. So I'd say to everybody now, we'd want to be watching what we're saying going forward as well, because there's a couple of things in the grass there at any stage that could bite up and bite you in the arse,
That's a fact. Great stuff, lads. A few bits. Joe McDonough, just to touch, we won't go down lower. We're out of time, really. Massive game in Tralee. Jeez, with Radio Carry On here in the bar Saturday. Jeez. Mike Holler nearly came down through the speaker and the radio. 228, 423. Puts Offaly in a very strong position now. Kerry have to go to Antrim. Antrim are qualified. Meath have completely hit the deck and they're going down. Antrim 729. They look to be the standout team in it, obviously. But they have to play Kerry now in Belfast. Will they go with a weakened team? I suppose it's Darren Gleeson's choice now, whether he wants to go full pelt. He can really pick who he plays, but it's in Offaly's hands as well. It's a bit like Cork. If Offaly beat Carlow, that won't be easy now. That's Carlow, a good win again yesterday, beat down 225, 119. So fabulous weekend next weekend for that. Lads, we're nearly broke from horses there after the week. I better get myself to a track shortly and have a word with these trainers and just say, what's the story here, like, Mr. Bulger?
Yeah.
Maybe, Dalo, you
probably 7th and 9th, was it?
We get you going the next day, yeah.
Johnny, I hope you're not a member of the racing club.
I'm not, no.
You will be when you're finished with Dalo.
Yeah.
We need a couple of representatives up and down the Leinster side there, Johnny, just to shoot out to Leopardstown and the Curragh and join Kieran Kilkenny and Dean Rock and fellas like that, like, you know.
Right, yeah.
Had we any hurlers, Johnny? Had we any hurlers in our team that were interested in the ponies? And really, have we?
No, Deco Dora maybe I think would have been a bit of an interest.
Deco.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah,
Leadenbag.
Yeah, good footballer as well. No, I don't think there's no one else really. No.
He's very sensible. I didn't even get through to you on that front.
No, he didn't. Something went wrong there.
The big news is, Dalo, I suppose, is that we're up and running. We passed the 500 members mark, and look, there has been a good few people have emailed in looking to keep. So look, just keep emailing in, I suppose, expressing your interest, because we have well over 65% of the membership gathered now at this stage in the space of a week. So we just need to, a bit like the GA clubs now, Dalo, we need to push on to the end of the month to try and get in all the membership to avoid disappointment, I suppose, for some people in case the membership goes to any new entrant that's looking at it. But the first call is for the people who have sent in an expression of interest, and we've emailed them back to say that they're in. We just need to get their funds over the line. The two runs, Mr. Balger and Kevin Manning, in terms the ground had gone against Purple Gown on Friday night. He said she was in a great position going into the home turn, and when he went to let her down, he said that the ground was gone too firm and she just wouldn't kick on. She was feeling it. So, look, it was great to have a couple of runners, great to be there on Friday night as well. I think the big thing now coming down the track is that Patrick Mullins and Willie Mullins have offered and asked us what he called to the yard. And I suppose we might try and set that up over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and maybe even add a little bit of entertainment on the night and stuff for that for people that are travelling up. So we'll watch this space, I suppose. It would be like to be a bit like you do that now for your clubs that are coming to Murty's on. So you get on a bus, you bring them to Murty's at 2 o'clock and you get them out at 10 o'clock. And that's something. So we're thinking maybe we
9.
might do something
if they
like
land
that.
At 2, maybe 9.
So maybe down to Willie Mullins's and into the Lord Bagnall for a couple of pints and a bite of grub, and maybe even do a little small bit of a questions and answers with the two of you knowledgeable hurling fellas, and we might throw Patrick's or Willie or Ruby into the mix and a bit of crack, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it sure would. It sounds like a plan, Marco. And I think just as well the two of them ran down the field, because we wouldn't have been able to co-op if we had 2 winners, the first 2 runners. It just kind of it dampens down expectation, like, you know. What hurler came out doing that after getting a goal? Who did that? TJ came it down, was it? Ron Kelly, was it?
Setanta O'Halpine. Did he do that as well?
Setanta was Setanta. Yeah. Don't panic. I'm after roofing one in the net, like, but don't panic.
Yeah.
Setanta.
Yeah.
We'll definitely lose more. We'll definitely lose more than we win anyway, but we will be hanging in there. And in fairness, we had 2 supporters, Dennis and Helen McCarthy, who appeared on Wednesday and were in Leopardstown on Friday night. So fair play now. That's commitment to the team.
Yeah, fair play, and we're Marco, in it for the long haul, and that's the way, isn't it?
Yeah, credit to Marco as well for representing us extremely well, looking Ricky like on TV on Friday night there on TG4 with his sunglasses and stuff. Look, really impressive. Yeah, fancy suit and look the part, Marco. But I agree with Marco. Stick with the plan here. There's plenty fun and plenty trips to be had. We have the 4 horses. We will have a couple of tours. We've lots of little things happening in the background. But by the time the month is out and we get the 500 people started, watch this space. Plenty to come. Good fun to come.
Okay, and fantasy-wise, lads, I think I did well anyway, I think, this week. But I went for Conor Cooney. I expected him to get about 3-3 from Clay. Never mind the freeze, but Conor, well done. The podium is still, TJ, you're streaking away, actually. You're streaking away.
Yeah.
Tony Kelly is captain.
Tony Kelly is captain. I'd be very happy with the way the week went for me. Sheedy scored the same amount of points, 263, 263. Marco, you had a good week, 281. So from the point of view of this week, very good. A little bit concerned that Gillan didn't play yesterday, and I had him in, which obviously, if he had played, it would have made a mighty difference for me. And now I am looking towards next week. My couple of Limerick players don't play, and I suppose there's always the real possibility that Brian could say, Tony, sit in the stand, have a cup of coffee. I need you for 3 weeks' time. Isn't that possible?
Yeah, down the bottom as well. It's looking very much with 141 points that Mr. Sean McGrath on his 3.4 million mansion on the Blackrock Road.
Getting dragged in,
is getting down, and Cads is beginning. Cads hit 165, not hectic either, Cads, but like Hoagie looks to have gone away from that trap zone.
Yeah.
Like he's like Everton and Leeds fans at the moment.
I'm telling you, Dalo, I'm closing in on you, kid. I'm the only fella there on the left-hand side. I've moved from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. A big move. The big question for me, Dalo, you've no Davy Fitzgerald or Diarmuid Ryan in your team. That's a big... Jesus, Davy Fitzgerald was a stick-out, wasn't he? A defender playing in the forwards. Bit surprised with you there now. But anyway, I stuck with him back.
Mac, I don't know what it is. You just have to get past me. Like I let you lift Liam McCarthy one year, Mac. You know, so you should be grateful for all those little things, Mac. You know.
Fair play. You're getting cocky now. Dalo. Remember now, if I have to set music on you again,
welcome back to the
set music on you again, kid.
Our listeners' league there, Raf, have you got it, or Larry, whoever's putting them up there? I think the man from Hospital Herbertstown is still ahead. Hard to see that now. But we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster. And TJ up to fourth. John O'Connor.
Up to fourth.
Was there many battles between Hospital Herbertstown and the Bouncers over the years, TJ?
Huge amount of battles, probably maybe more so back in the day. And I say what a lot of people, local people would know, was I was actually born, would you believe, in the parish of Hospital Herbertstown. But we always played with Guy Spillane, and my father played with Guy Spillane. So it'd be small, like the start of the programme, small little bit of a needle there. But yeah, we'd like to close this gap. I'm only 6 points off it, but John Paul going very well, keeping the old Sean to get 226. Okay, yeah. So yeah, a bit to go. I'd be a little bit concerned about next week. So yeah, a long way. We're only halfway, really, guys. Halfway.
But two massive scores there, Dalo. Liam Bergen, Champagne Hurling from Galtee Rovers, 298 points. And there's another fella there from Scariff, Dogs Dynamo. He must be one of your gang. Damien O'Grady. Damien O'Grady. 298 points himself and the lad from the Galtee Rovers there.
Yeah, they all had TK as captain. Sure, that's the mistake we made. But I think he'll be left out this Sunday. So that could turn things at the top of the table. I don't know. Liam Sheedy obviously has the very same team as you, TJ, if he landed on 263 as well.
He has Dermot Burns as captain. So in fact he scored 9 points. Yeah, really good.
But of course they won't play next week either. So chance for us all to make up the ground. Yeah,
chance for us to catch up the ground. Yeah, all to play for heading into championship time.
Fogras, TJ.
Yeah, I have one. Like in fairness to yourself and Marco, from a long way out, we put out the club Baylanders GA club and Gary Spillane GA and the Irish Heart Foundation for my uncle there who passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack. We decided to have a night to remember him. Dave Walsh, great GA man, probably more so nearly football than hurling. He would have been delighted the Limerick footballers in the Munster final, and actually would be a good buddy of Billy Lee's, and Billy be texting me there after the game, said Dave would be delighted. But we decided to have this night on 28th of May, a week out from the Munster final, and sure, Dalo, as luck would have it, it's going to be Limerick and Clare. So Marco will have to be the referee on the night between myself and yourself, and we're bringing along the great Tomas O'Shea from a little bit of a football insight as well, and maybe Tomas might be able to give us his hurling insights on the night. So plenty of prizes there. So thanks to the boys. And Saturday 28th of May in Baylanders, bit of a podcast style for ourselves. Good bit of crack, 8 o'clock. We also that night, Dalo, have, as I imagine you know at this stage, Liverpool and Real Madrid in the Champions League final starting at 8 p.m. That's actually also on in the clubhouse. So anybody who wants to come early, Champions League football early, and then a bit of Champions League hurling with myself, Marco, and Dalo.
Good stuff, Teach. I've just a quick one there, lads. Old pal of mine, John Rooney, Anthony John Rooney, up there in Ballyshannon, near Rua. He's a mighty man. He's up on the bicycle again. He's doing 700 kilometres up the west coast. He's starting in Clare all the way up to Ballyshannon for the Blue Stack Special Needs Foundation. It'd be great if you could throw him a $5 or a $10, lads. I donate. John Rooney. He's a top guy. He's a Galway man originally, and he's a diehard hurling man up there. I actually had a great Christmas night up there, presenting them with their Donegal hurling medals. What a night we had up there. Was a bit shook on the way home, I have to say. Johnny Mack, pleasure having you on board, kid.
Thanks, boys.
Hopefully this is the year for the Luke and SARS, Johnny.
He's God. He's God, yeah. Won't be for one to try anyway.
No, that's for sure. You're always thereabouts. If you just get over the line one year, it'll be great. I think everyone in Dublin connected with Dublin Hurling Bar, you having the specific club bias, would be delighted for you. So great to have you, Johnny. Great to see you. You can do reunion for next year, Johnny, for the 10 years, will you?
Absolutely, yeah. We need that long. We need it long overdue.
Big time.
Yeah, Johnny, have you connected with an uncle of yours, Kevin O'Callaghan? Yeah, he works with SGS. Yeah, they're our auditors here for their ISO. So
very good.
He'd be always singing your praises in Cube and Dublin Hurling and following for the last number of years.
On the Galway 20 pounds as well. He's a good
That's
little
correct.
hurler.
Good little hurler. So yeah, Kevin, great sportsman and great hurling fan. Yeah,
he's down at the moment with Leeds. He's not too happy. He needs to. They're hoping to stay up.
They need a victory. Okay.
Need to win. They do.
Okay.
Good crowd here after the match last night, and everyone was buzzing. I have to say, a great crowd in from the peninsula. All the lads from O'Curry's, Carrigaholt, and back along Navan lads, and they'll be on passing, and they called in fair play. But I have to say, John Collins was a very worried Leeds supporter last night, but he was delighted with the 93rd minute goal there that they got a point. Shout out to the Ballymartle lads and Ratnishka lads who called in Friday and Saturday lads, 2 stags. Great old crack, and I hope Doolin and I hope Ennis is still standing after they moved to Doolin and to Ennis after leaving Murty Browns. So shout out, good lads, well able, no messing with them, no shots, points. I tell you, it was just anyway. So good crack, great stuff, lads. The big take out of the weekend is the Rebels are back.
Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? See that up?
Come and love you, daddy, all night long.
And you? What do you do? It's a bit complicated to explain.
You know, I still didn't get exactly what your job is.
That's what I do.
New Renault Arcana E-Tech Hybrid from €299 per month on the road. Winner, Irish Medium Crossover SUV in the 2022 Car of the Year Awards.
A grain of rice. A grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game. Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.